Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita's abandoned house, tragic death and net worth left behind. Noriyuki, Pat Morita was a legendary actor whose unforgettable portrayal of Mr. Miyagi in the Karate Kid series made him a household name around the globe. To millions of fans, he was the wise, soft-spoken, and spiritually grounded martial arts mentor who taught wax on, wax off, but behind the camera, Pat Morita's real-life journey was filled with pain, perseverance, and quiet struggles few ever knew about. Born on June 28, 1932, to Japanese immigrant parents in California, Morita's early life was far from easy. As a child, he suffered from spinal tuberculosis, spending years in hospitals strapped to a body cast and even told he might never walk again. On top of this, he and his family were interned at a Japanese-American internment camp during World War II, a cruel injustice that left a lasting emotional scar. But Morita's spirit remained unbroken. Not only did he walk again, he eventually stood tall on some of Hollywood's biggest stages. House with garden, the house that fame couldn't save during his most successful years, especially after The Karate Kid in 1984, Morita enjoyed a level of fame few Asian American actors had ever achieved. But while his on-screen character lived in peaceful simplicity, Morita's own life was often clouded by personal hardship. In his later years, he lived in a modest home in Las Vegas, Nevada, far from the glitz and glamour of Beverly Hills. The home wasn't large or flashy, but it had meaning to Morita. It was a place where he could try to escape the pressures of Hollywood and the personal demons he battled, including a long struggle with alcoholism. Unfortunately, as his health declined and financial issues mounted, the home began to fall into disrepair. After his death, it was reported that the property sat neglected for years, taking on an eerily abandoned look that stood in stark contrast to the light Morita had once brought to millions. The house became a quiet, haunting symbol, not just of one man's fall from grace, but of how even the most beloved stars can fade into isolation when the cameras stop rolling. Broken heart, a life of hidden struggles. Despite his calm demeanor and signature smile, Pat Morita fought many internal battles. Though he made people laugh and inspired countless fans with his wisdom-filled roles, off-screen he dealt with typecasting, career droughts, and deep personal pain. His career began in comedy clubs and sitcoms, Happy Days, Sanford and Son, but he always wanted to be taken seriously as a dramatic actor, something that didn't come easily in an industry full of stereotypes. Even after earning an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor for The Karate Kid, Morita struggled to maintain consistent work. Typecasting, his health issues, and his battle with alcohol affected his opportunities. He went through multiple marriages, and those close to him described him as both deeply generous and quietly tormented. By the time of his passing, his finances were reportedly limited, despite his decades-long presence in film and television. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated to be relatively modest, a reflection not of his talent, but of the harsh realities faced by many actors, especially those who break barriers. His final days and legacy. Pat Morita died on November 24, 2005, at the age of 73, from kidney failure following years of declining health. He passed away at a rehabilitation facility, far from the limelight, surrounded not by crowds of fans, but by a few close loved ones. His death was a quiet ending to a life that had touched millions. But even though his house may now sit silent and his physical presence is gone, Pat Morita's legacy lives on. Mr. Miyagi remains one of the most iconic characters in cinema, a rare portrayal of strength, humility, and wisdom that transcended race and generations. New fans discover him each year through the Karate Kid films and Cobra Kai, where his character's memory remains a guiding force. Today, fans continue to mourn not just the loss of an actor, but the absence of a man who stood as a trailblazer for Asian American representation in Hollywood. His abandoned home, while sad, is not the end of his story. Rather, it's a chapter that reminds us of the humanity behind the icon. Glowing star. More than Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita was so much more than one role. He was a survivor, a dreamer, and a cultural pioneer who overcame immense obstacles to become a beloved figure in American entertainment. From hospital beds to internment camps to Oscar nominations, his journey was one of unimaginable courage. Though he may have passed in silence and lived his final years away from the spotlight, Pat Morita's life continues to inspire, proof that even the quietest voices can leave the loudest echoes.